Hi, I'm Bryce Merkl Sasaki, and I'm here at GraphConnect Europe in London with Cabra, the Data and Research Unit Editor at the ICIJ. So, talk to me about how you guys use Neo4j in the Panama Papers investigation, and even some of your guys' previous investigations.
So at the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists, we have a team of programmers and journalists that work together to facilitate data analysis and data research and to facilitate hundreds of journalists to work together. In the Panama Papers investigation, we gathered almost 400 journalists from around 80 countries to work together on 11.5 million files. Inside those files, there were database files that then made it into a database, and that we then transform it into Neo4j to explore the data in graphs. And what was that data about? It was about offshore companies created in tax havens, in places like the British Virgin Islands, like Panama, and the people behind them. So that's why graphs were so great to see, okay, this is a shell company, but who's really behind?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, great. And then that was, what, 2.6 terabytes of data. How did you guys handle scale or performance? Were there any issues with that, or?
So for us, the most important thing is that all my users, all my journalists, 400 people in around 80 countries, can get to do research in the same tool, and sometimes very intensely, because they're researching all the time in different time zones. For us, it was very important to have a tool that allowed us to visualize that data easily, and Linkurious was a great software that we could place on our servers, have it in our own environment without having to give the data to anybody, and it also allowed us to have a private environment where our reporters would log in with username and password and work on the data and even share the graphs. And the good thing is that Linkurious could be set up very quickly once you have everything set up, and then you just put the Neo4j data behind it, and immediately you're working with it. So that was the most important thing. It's like it was an easy deploy, and also that it would not fail with those users doing such an intensive work.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then why did you guys choose Neo4j in the first place?
Because of Linkurious. So I think that many clients have the same problem, which is I need to visualize my data because we are visual individuals, visual animals. Mm-hmm. Everything comes through the eyes. So we need visuals to understand things that are complex. So we were looking for a visualization tool, and then we found Linkurious, and Linkurious was using Neo. So that's how we became interested in Neo4j. The good thing is that even if we had our data in SQL, we could easily transform it with an ETL tool, an extract, transform, and load tool, easily into Neo, plug it in Linkurious, and that's it.
Perfect. And can you talk to me about the other technologies that you guys used? I know, even taking 11.5 million documents and turning that into something you can digest. I know that there are several other things you guys used. What were those? And yeah.
So for us, it's very important that our reporters get to communicate between themselves. One thing is to have knowledge available to reporters. The second thing is to get that knowledge shared. So it was very important for us to have like an intranet to communicate, a social network that was private for our group of reporters to share tips, to share ideas, to share questions, and to exchange all that and have a conversation. So we built a platform that allowed us to do that. And remember, the reporters we work with are not people that work for the same company. They work for different media organizations from different countries, different cultures. So having a hub where they can connect and talk like they were in the same newsroom is very important. And also, we use Neo4j and Linkurious to visualize the company data. This is the companies in tax havens that were created by a Panamanian law firm called Mossack Fonseca, one of the leading firms in this business in the world. But we also had 11.5 million documents that were unstructured data, PDFs, emails, incorporation documents. And we needed to have a place where reporters could search that data. So we also had like our internal search engine where reporters could log in and search the documents and find stories.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then what, in terms of the technical side of things, what were some of the most interesting or surprising results with using Neo, whether that was for the first time you'd used Neo or for Panama Papers specifically?
So my reporters are great. We have among the best investigative reporters in the world working with us. But the technological skills of my people are not always at the same level, right? On one hand, we have reporters that are very good investigative reporters, but they're not very technologically skilled. And on the other hand, we have developers working with us. We have people that are very tech savvy. I think that for most of our reporters, however, it was very fascinating to find connections through the graphs that they did not see before. I remember the first reactions were like, oh my God, this is magic. Or, oh my God, I found this person and that this person was connected to these 3 other people that I didn't know about. So as a discovery tool, was great because the world is interconnected. Like everything happens in a global way and everything happens in an interconnected way. Crime is interconnected, corruption is interconnected, people are interconnected. We all have Facebook, right? I have around 900 Facebook friends. We're all interconnected, right? So that's how the world works, and that's how we should investigate it. So that's why the feedback from the reporters working with the ICIJ was very, very good, because they really could apply it to their job, which is to investigate wrongdoing.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And then, if you could go back, if you could take all the knowledge you have of Neo4j and Linkurious and everything else, and you could go back to the time when you first started using Neo4j, what would you do differently?
I know what I would do now. I think our work is not over. I think that there are so many more ideas of things we want to do. So for example, we know that we have a lot of emails. And we haven't looked at extracted the metadata from the emails and looked at the patterns and the graphs of the emails themselves. And that's something that I know we can do with Neo. And we're looking forward to doing that if we have some time in the second semester of 2016. So I know that would be something that I would like to be doing a year ago. But of course, there's no time for everything. And then something else is I would try to get more data analysts to work with us to analyze the data. I think that I have a great team. We have 3 developers working on the team at the data unit and 2 other journalists. So we're 6 people working together analyzing data, but that's not enough. We have so many things to do, stories and platforms and answering questions of reporters. So I would say I would love to involve more data savvy data analysts that could be dedicated to looking at trends and patterns so that we find stories that we may have missed. But the good news is that we will be releasing the Mossack Fonseca internal database, so the database of all these Panama Paper offshore companies, more than 200,000 offshore companies, and we'll be releasing that in May 9th. And there will be an option to look at it in the website, but also download it. And I'm looking forward to all the tips and ideas that we're going to be getting through that. So at least we're going to get some power of the people, so crowdsourcing of stories that we may have missed.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be, I know a lot of people tonight were very excited to hear that announcement that the data will be opened up. Do you feel like, especially with the Panama Papers story and now being the biggest of one of your guys' many successes, do you feel like journalism and media are almost sort of starting to require some sort of technical or data analysis skills? What are your thoughts on the future of data as it relates to journalism and media? So
let me give you a fact. 2 years ago, ICIJ did not have a data team in-house, and now we are 6 people. Just in 2 years. So we've grown from 0 to 6 people, which is actually 50% of ICIJ permanent staff. So that's how it goes. And right now, the people we're incorporating are people that have a developer background or journalists with a data skills, people that come from PhDs, like data analysts. So I think that journalism is not a thing that we're only going to be doing. Journalists are going to be doing. So I think that it's a reality. It's not future, it's a reality. The fact that journalism is opening up to other professions, and some of those professions are developers and data analysts. And I don't think, at ICIJ, I don't think we will be able to do in the future any investigation that doesn't have a data component. Yeah, okay, good. And then a question that's a little bit,
different angle in terms of like how does it feel both as as the ICIJ corporately, I mean maybe as personally, like the impact that this story has had. Like, I mean, I don't even know how many prime ministers we're at now, or other heads of state that are facing some difficulties with that. How does that? I don't know. So, how do you guys feel? Yeah.
Well, we're journalists, and one of our goals is to basically put in the public interest a topic that maybe has been uncovered, that people didn't know about. And for us, the greatest impact is the fact that the world is talking about it, and the fact that politicians and policymakers are talking about it and are talking about doing measures and taking measures, doing something about it. Mm-hmm. It's not that tax havens was something that we didn't know about. Everybody knew about tax havens. Everybody knows there are studies that show the impact that tax havens have in today's economy and inequality. But there was no political will, and I think that we've helped move that political will a little bit more into action. And I think that's the biggest that's the biggest success, is that not only we put something in the public spotlight that was unknown, but also that we made such a big bang that politicians, policymakers, and people that can do things are at least promising now to do things. Now the next thing is we need to follow up, because sometimes they just promise and those promises vanish.
Yeah. Okay, great. Anything else you want to add or say? Any closing thoughts?
I just think that data is everywhere, and data is part of our lives. We generate data when we move. I've been generating data all day just by Twitter, by geolocation. I think that we need to become more and more data savvy and tech savvy. And of course, saying that to you that works at Neo4j is not a big thing, but I think that regular individuals, us journalists, my mother probably not, but everybody should have some data skills to understand the world, because if not, in a few years, we're going to get lost without it.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure talking to you and hearing about the whole Panama Papers investigation and how your team did that. So,
thanks to you.
Yeah.